Welcome to Southwest Desert, where adventure meets the arid beauty of the American Southwest. Join us as we explore the rugged landscapes, uncover hidden historical gems, and dive deep into the rich legends and culture of this iconic region. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on our latest desert adventures. Please leave a like or comment. This is very helpful. Let's journey together into the heart of the Southwest Desert. Picture this. 75 armed men thunder across the Mojave Desert, their eyes fixed on a massive dust cloud rising in the distance. Ahead of them, 25 outlaws are driving what might be the largest stolen herd in American frontier history, over 3,000 horses and mules worth a fortune. But this isn't just any chase. This is about to become one of the most audacious cons in the Wild West, where the hunters become the hunted, and an entire posse gets stranded on foot in one of America's deadliest deserts. Welcome to the untold story of the old Spanish trail robbers, mountain men turned outlaws who turned a historic trade route into their personal highway of crime. In 1832, the old Spanish Trail stretched 1,200 miles across brutal southwestern terrain, connecting Santa Fe's markets with Mexican California. But this wasn't just a trade route. It was about to become the stage for some of the most brazen thefts in frontier history. The trouble started when New Mexico's governor issued new regulations requiring expensive licenses for trail traders, effectively monopolizing commerce for local residents. But he'd picked the wrong crowd to mess with. The mountain men, legendary fur trappers and scouts who'd spent decades living by their own rules, weren't about to start following someone else's. These weren't ordinary men. They were survivors who'd battled grizzly bears, navigated by stars, and lived through winters that would kill civilized folks. They'd already shown little respect for national boundaries, territorial laws, or property rights. To them, the governor's licensing requirements were just another obstacle to overcome by ignoring it entirely and taking what they wanted. The first shot fired in this war came from Thomas "Peg Leg" Smith. In 1829, Smith and his trapping party arrived in Los Angeles with valuable beaver pelts, expecting to trade. Instead, local authorities ordered them to leave California immediately. Smith wasn't most men. His nickname came from a wooden leg he'd carved after amputating his own shattered limb with a butcher knife, without anesthesia. A man who could do that wasn't going to be intimidated by Mexican officials. Smith's response was swift and devastating. As his party prepared to leave, they systematically stole 300 to 400 horses. The Californians tried to stop them, but Smith and his men had already melted into the desert, driving their stolen herd toward markets where no one asked uncomfortable questions about ownership. It was just a taste of what was coming. By 1840, the beaver trade was dying. Silk hats had become fashionable back east, destroying the market for beaver pelts overnight. Faced with collapsed livelihoods, many mountain men found themselves at a crossroads. Some adapted to new trades. Others chose a darker path. The final beaver trapper rendezvous in 1840 became something more sinister, a planning session for the most audacious livestock theft in American history. Leading this criminal enterprise were notorious frontier figures, Peg Leg Smith, now a seasoned horse thief, and Wakara, a Ute chief whose name struck fear across the territories. Some accounts credit Old Bill Williams as the mastermind, a man known for cunning and thinking 3 moves ahead of his enemies. The target was San Luis Obispo, California, home to some of North America's finest horses and mules. These weren't just any animals. They were premium saddle horses worth their weight in gold. 25 men rode into California that year. When they rode out, they were driving a herd that defied belief, somewhere between 1,200 and 3,000 stolen horses and mules. Either way, it was a fortune on 4 legs, thundering across the desert toward the old Spanish Trail. When California authorities learned of the massive theft, they mobilized 75 men with 225 horses, enough remounts to maintain pursuit speed across hundreds of desert miles. This wasn't just a posse. It was a small army determined to recover the stolen herd. The chase that followed reads like an action movie. The Californians pushed their horses to the limit, racing across the desert following the dust trail of the massive stolen herd. Beyond Barstow, they could see the telltale dust cloud marking their quarry. But the mountain men weren't just running, they were thinking. As the exhausted animals reached a crucial waterhole, the raiders made a decision revealing their tactical genius. While half the men continued driving the herd forward, the other half concealed themselves in reeds around the water source, a move bearing all the hallmarks of Old Bill Williams' cunning. The pursuing Californians, their horses nearly spent, arrived at the waterhole and did exactly what any sensible person would do. They stopped to water their horses and rest. It was a fatal mistake. As the posse relaxed, thinking they were closing in, the hidden raiders struck. In minutes, they'd stolen the entire caballada, the posse's horse herd. 75 armed men suddenly found themselves stranded on foot in one of North America's most unforgiving deserts. It was brilliant, audacious, and absolutely ruthless. The aftermath revealed both the operation's scale and brutal cost. The mountain men successfully pulled off their heist, but the desert claimed its price. Nearly half the stolen animals died from thirst and exhaustion during the grueling crossing. In 1848, Lieutenant Brewerton observed that the trail was still littered with bleached skeletons, a grim monument to the raid's toll. But for surviving animals reaching western Colorado markets, the payoff was enormous. The raiders had established a reliable network for disposing of stolen livestock, selling to Missouri Valley traders who asked no questions. The stolen horses and mules fetched premium prices, making the raid survivors wealthy by frontier standards. The success attracted other legendary figures. Jim Beckwourth, the renowned scout and Indian fighter, became an active participant. Perhaps most notably, Joe Walker, who would guide John C. Fremont's 1845 California expedition, returned to Pueblo, Colorado, with 400 to 500 stolen horses. Walker had the audacity to justify the theft as contraband of war and sold the stolen animals to General Stephen Kearny's Army of the West at Bent's Fort in 1846. The irony was staggering. Stolen horses funding the very military expedition that would conquer New Mexico and California for the United States. Historians describe many thousands of horses and mules stolen over the years, involving virtually every famous mountain man of the era. But livestock theft wasn't the only illegal commerce flowing along the old Spanish Trail. When the beaver market collapsed, some mountain men descended into an even darker trade: human slavery. The trail became a highway for trafficking Native American slaves. Dr. J.H. Lyman's 1841 report revealed the horrifying scope. Paiute Indians in western Utah became primary targets, captured by New Mexicans and neighboring tribes, then sold in Santa Fe markets. The pricing was coldly systematic. Children aged 10 to 15 brought $50 to $100 each, considered reasonable given what traders euphemistically called the preparation required to make them fit for market. Mountain men, once heroes of American expansion, found themselves participating in this human trafficking network, a fall from grace that stained their legends permanently. The Mexican War of 1846 to 1848 marked the beginning of the end for old Spanish trail robbers. American participation in livestock theft largely ended with the war's outbreak, though Ute Chief Wakara continued his depredations until his death in 1855. The final blow came in spring 1848, when the last major trading caravan encountered Kit Carson in the desert. Carson carried two pieces of news that would forever change the Southwest. First, official dispatches announcing that the U.S. military commander of California had imposed a 20% duty on all traders, effectively ending the profitable trade sustaining the trail for decades. But Carson's second piece of news was far more significant. A copy of the California Star newspaper dated April 1, 1848, carrying the first Eastern notification of the California gold discovery. The California gold rush diverted traffic from the old Spanish Trail almost overnight. The route was too long and rugged for 49er wagon trains racing to gold fields. Northern Argonauts followed the Oregon Trail, while southern gold seekers chose the Gila River route. Mormon settlers who arrived in Great Salt Lake Valley in 1847 gradually adapted and improved the trail from Little Salt Lake to Los Angeles, eventually extending it north to Salt Lake City. Under their stewardship, the route became a legitimate wagon road serving as the primary thoroughfare in the far Southwest for nearly 25 years. Today, U.S. Highway 91 and the Union Pacific Railroad follow much of the historical route, while the Los Angeles-Salt Lake Flyway carries air traffic above the same path once traveled by Spanish traders, mountain men, and desperate thieves. The old Spanish Trail itself has passed into oblivion, but the stories of the men who turned it into their personal highway of crime remain compelling, tales of audacity, cunning, and the thin line between heroism and outlawry on the American frontier. Join my Patreon community and discover my art print products on my website in the links provided in my description and link above. Also, if you would like a particular image from my videos, give the timestamp for image, and I will upload it to my website and Patreon. Thank you for joining your desert frontiersman Alan for another Southwest story. Check out my large catalog of Southwest videos and playlists on historical tales, legends, lost gold stories, and adult bedtime stories. If you like a certain image from my videos, tell me in comments and give timestamp. Happy trails! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more great content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.